Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is DB333, and welcome back to Hearthstone for the New Order Last Days Europe as the divine mandate of I got them mixed up because the name's right in front of us, and not this fucking clusterfuck. That is Magadan, who we're playing as. I caught myself. Apparently, last series I actually said we're Kemerovo instead of Omsk, and that was a little awkward, and I cringed at that a little bit, but we don't have to worry about that anymore because here we are. And, God, let's see, in the last video, we, I think we finished up Irkutsk. That might have been last video, I forget. It's been a day or so, I haven't recorded since. So we're just kind of moving, trying to take some stuff over, trying to get the mandate to capitulate. It looks fucking horrible, but actually, all things considered, it's not going too bad. So I'll take it. We're gonna take Chernyshev. Oh, beautiful. Vyatka's doing pretty well. My money's on... Who do I think is going to unify the region? That's a good question, actually. Let's see who's here. Zukov for the front. Vyatka, Samara. Komi is doing suspiciously well, but I don't know how long that can last. Move you there, buddy. Come on. What's the holdup? But yeah, we'll just pin that guy down for now, I guess. I don't know. We really split down the middle now. It's kind of horrible to look at, but now it doesn't matter. We don't have to cry no more. So we got the Russian corporations in Yakutia to work on towards. In the absence of any Russian rule over Yakutia in the previous years, the ethnic Yakutes have completed the final act of betrayal against the Russian people. Russians stole in the depths of their diamond mines, yet the fruit of their labor belonged not to their nation, but the Republic of Yakutia. Makovsky, disgusted by what he discovered, vows to end this practice all over Yakutia. There is a small problem as to who will manage the mining corporations if the party incorporates the corporations of a state. Fortunately, Makovsky has a simple solution to this predicament. Russian corporations shall work in Yakutia. No longer shall Russian labor go to any nation other than their own. The diamonds of these mines will go towards funding the party in its sacred task. With a surplus of funds resulting from increased trade, we will be able to draw more to join us and pay those in our service higher wages. Russians shall rule Russia. Well, shall rule over Russia again, excuse me. There we go. Not too bad. So we can integrate Yakuts, Northern Siberia, Chukotka, and Kamchatka. So we'll go ahead and do that. So we could always use a bit more manpower. There goes Bratislava.
Margaret Thatcher as Prime Minister.
It's kind of disappointing because the last game, the game that the audio didn't make it in, it was Malding and Macmillan who won, which I thought was really interesting. It was a neat change of pace. Industrial investments, get some manpower. But yeah, we don't have that this time. Let's get some lessons from Rebel. If there's one thing that we can say in favor of the mad mercenary rebel, a man who once sought to kill the Vols Makovsky, was that he was competent, almost fearsomely so. Leading an army of disparate experiences, personalities, and cultures would be a challenge to even a general staff, but Rebel did it alone. Perhaps the Wizard of Whispering Death can still aid us after his unceremonious and violent dismissal after all. From the ex-mercenary captives that we have gained during Rebel's coup, we can learn how Rebel organized his forces into a coherent, capable fighting force. We shall present the mercenaries more lenient terms if they cooperate with us to raise our troops to their standards, using their experience in global wars and applying it to Siberia. The soldiers of Magadan shall become the greatest in the Far East, perhaps in the whole of Russia. No army in Siberia or elsewhere shall challenge their superiority. Now that works for me. Get a little bit extra army professionalism. Decent boost all around. Training time for a division is a bit up. Which kind of sucks, but everything else, not bad. Uh-oh. Oh no. Polska knee. I've never seen that event before. How's it going there? Not good actually. Wow. Oh god, yeah, that's a It's not a good day to be Polish at all, my friends. Or South African. Nkvd versus... Oh, those guys. Damn, they were actually doing pretty well. Okay, they're only against Komi and Samara. So if they can pull something out there, they have a shot. Also, I know I can hit the button and unify it. I think I'll wait until the end of the video, I'm thinking. Make it feel a lot more appropriate. Let's get some arms from our benefactors. America, our loyal ally, has given a tremendous aid to us in exchange for fulfilling the reforms that we promised back in the day of cold winter. So far, they have kept a safe distance from us, supporting us with surplus arms, but not allowing us to become strong enough to break fully from them. Now that they have seen the results that the Vols has brought to the Far East, their faith in our regime has increased, and the shipments of supplies have become more significant as of late. With not only surplus arms, but recent state-of-the-art ones as well. With the diamond mines of Yakutsk under Russian control, the Americans shall not only receive empty promises to pay for the aid, we shall begin paying from our pockets to this foreign power. Proving that the Russians can finally stand on their own 2 feet, they shall continue to be our benefactors, but we will distance ourselves until the time that we can break free from all foreign influence and let Russians rule over Russian land. Not too bad. Today was inspection day. Draped in a black fur coat, Makovsky looked at the ships in the harbor as they brought over supplies and arms from America. He could see his breath stirring in front of him in white, flaky pieces of air. The port had smelled the same, bearing an odor of brine and rotten fish, with a subtle tang of salt above it all. Petlin and Pavlov went up and down the piers, their silhouettes dark against the pale, weak morning light. A random thought hit him. They had not found Rebel's body. Try as he might, with his men spread out across the tundras and forests of Siberia, he could not find them. He sighed and breathed the scent of the sea. Wherever the mercenary was, he didn't care. Dead or alive, Rebel was out of the way. He stepped forward and strode onto the dock. Somewhere in the world, a soft rock tune played in the background of a tropical cafe overlooking a beach. A gruff, balding man sat in the corner, reading a newspaper, his cup of coffee untouched. He had to settle for cigarettes. He had fun in some exotic lately, and it was a crying shame that it ended. Fucking fascists. First they wouldn't pay, now they kicked him out. What had the world come down to? He shook his head. No more honest employers these days, it seemed. He put the papers down. For the first time since the morning, he tasted of coffee. Mud. It was time to look for new places, new horizons. He left some money on the table, accounting for tips, and left the cafe. Cigarette in mouth. Where's he going to next? We'll never know, will we? Probably loot that. Probably hold out until we get some, another one of these going, honestly. And get working on some industry. So build some city factories in Nkvd. A few one in Magadan as well. Might as well finish off the repairs here, though. Actually, no, free repair. What am I talking about? We'll finish up the one in Magadan and then get working on the ones elsewhere. Let's get some FOBs. The defeat of the Republic of Yakutia. The party has decided that it is in its utmost interest to rest after its most recent war. Our neighbors to the west and north, however, scurry beneath us, continuing their malicious mission to prevent the reclamation of Russia. Although not in direct conflict with any of them, we cannot let the details of our opponents' movements go unexamined. At this juncture, the party cannot let itself be blindsided by any development in the Far East. To make up for lack of intelligence on our foes, the Vols has approved the early construction of forward operating bases in the periphery of our territories. From there, no change shall miss the party's eyes in Magadan. Knowing oneself is only half the fight won. To ensure one's total and complete victory, one must understand the enemy as well. That is Vavod's desire, to achieve flawless triumph. There we go. We can invest in infrastructure, get some in more. It's not a bad idea, honestly. Save some PP. Wait, who beat them? Oof, that's damn, I have not seen that ceasefire before. That's interesting. Man. Oh, Bennett, what's up, man? Forward operating bases. Let's take back the past. The past few months have been a wild ride for the Russian Fascist Party. Once stuck in a nice port in the middle of nowhere, the Vols has subdued the Tsars Sanchita and the regional Republic of Yakutia. From the former, we have gained the experience and loyalty of the monarchist officers, incorporating them into the anti-Bolshevik front. From the latter, a steady stream of diamonds flowed from the port of Magadan to America and beyond, earning us a revenue beyond compare. The task I have not yet done. Is it not? It would be complacent for us to wait and sit on our medals while the rest of the Far East has not pledged oaths of loyalty to the one true Volst. The military exercises will continue, and the mining of diamonds will not cease. The Far East is in our hands, waiting to be grasped and claimed. So will the Vols move forward until all of Siberia, and then Russia bend their knee to him. Shall we tell him that that's already happened? I don't know what this dude's tripping about. We won. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't think Vyatka's gonna win here. Which, it feels bad, man, because it... Well, To move on to the Far East Theater. Our preparations for becoming conflicts in the Far East continue. However, the foes we are to face are different from the ones we have fought so far. These other warlords that dare contest our rule of the Far East are entirely different adversaries in nature, magnitude, and motivation. Except for Aldan, these claimants are shaped by ideological fanaticism, rather than the mere will to survive in the Siberian climate. The Reds are to our west, in Buryatia and Irkutsk. Some in the general staff want to prioritize them first, seeing as they are our old enemies, and hardened by years of war. Some, however, look to the north and see the Father as the greatest threat. After all, faith has driven men to commit all things great and terrible. Our last option could be to invade Aldan while they are weak and claim the gold there for ourselves. Whatever we choose, our course is set, and after we are finished in the Far East, the West shall know the glory of the East. Well, we're already done, so, shall we show them a little glory, guys? Let's get some more Cass, perhaps some more early fighters, too. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Hey, mama. Got an unassigned division. Excellent. Put you in the army. The shield broken. Yeah, not cool. Infrastructural reserve. So we're bypassing a bunch of stuff. Yeah, and so let's go and get the gold of Aldan to start off with. The gold mines of Aldan are in our hands. The hired guns and mercenaries have once protected the town has dispersed, taking their payment and rifles with them. Honor is perhaps the most valuable resource in the Far East, it seems. The people of Aldan only learned this fact recently, and their identity did not survive the lessons imparted. Aldan, however, is a sparsely populated region. To bring the gold mines up to their full potential, we would need to take some measure. The Vol shall send some of his labor force to the northern mines of Aldan, using gold to incentivize settlers to go there. Once up and running, gold will pour out of these mines to finance the war effort in the Far East. With the excess revenue brought in by the ore, we can afford a bigger army. However, we shall not make the same mistakes that Aldan did. All shall swear loyalty to the Voz and him alone. There we go. Who's winning? It kind of looks like Sverdlovsk is. Oh no. I take it back, Omsk. That was one. Fuck, Comey's looking thick too, and the thing is, they're not gonna win. I mean, Zhukov isn't a bad unifier. It's not that. It's just he's a boring one, and I always see him win. Although Andreas Meyer Landroot is doing way better than he realistically has any right to, so shout out to him. My god. Transmission 02, Agent Station, currently stationed in Magadan. Subject, the growing situation of the Far East in overview. Following the last report issued, training of Magadan forces under Makovsky proceeded smoothly. Surplus arms for U.S. arsenals are distributed among the soldiers, have had an incredible effect. The officers' training has borne fruit. I can say without hesitation that the Vol's armies is the most advanced in the Russian Far East territories. Praise only checked by the old military adage, they still have room to grow. The prospect of Vod's crusade, a term he insists on to no end, seems bright. Continuing from the last report, the RFP Magadan has defeated their counterparts in a war. Along with this development, they quickly broke the truce they had with Tsar Sanchita and toppled the Tsar there. In one fell swoop, Makovsky succeeded in reunifying the old anti-Bolshevik front, albeit by force. Barring other emergent factions in the area, we are confident in saying that the Vols currently possesses the strongest force in the East in terms of personnel and industrial capacity. However, we feel the need to qualify with a series of rapid progress. There remains another significant force in the Far East, the Reds and the Hardline RFP. The only main concern that the RFP and the U.S. personnel note are rumors from North Siberia of a religious leader amassing power among the tribes there. Though the probability of RFP's victory remains high, we recommend further and closer inspection of regional developments. Mason out. Still a lot of work to be done. Indeed. Increase that. We can get some industrial experts, which tempts me. So we'll do this, bypass these two. This one again, okay. Never seen them unified into one thing. That's interesting. Anyway. For all the Russian members of the RFP, the October Revolution was a black stain upon Russia's history as a nation. Abandoning its roots, it instead fled to the ideals of Marx and Lenin, creating a state whose only purpose was material gain. Gone was a Russia that championed the rights of its people, replaced by a wicked country that actively suppressed freedom. Where did all their cruelty lead them? They guided Russia to its defeat in the hands of its most heinous enemy. It's now time for us to snuff out the flames of the revolution. The troops shall move like boots over the embers of the Reds. When the Vols gives his order, they shall stamp these out. No one shall gain from their ashes kindling from which to light the whole of Russia flame again. We do not care whether or not it is Yogoda or Petlin who we face. The Reds have had their chance, and they have squandered it. It's time for someone else to lead Russia to her glory. Let's see what's going on in the rest of the world. Goring, the elephant in the room. So we bypassed foes' focuses. Beautiful. Oh no, and he was doing so well too. Looks like they've allied with Stalaker, interesting enough. And yeah. Huh, well. Let's revive the aviation industry. Once in the times of a union, there was a thriving aircraft industry in Irkutsk. The planes that came out of these factories flew in the Great Patriotic War, a vast service to the troubled motherland. After the fall of the Union, these manufactories shut down, as the Reds were more concerned about their ideological purity than the utility of such tools of the state. We now possess the region of Irkutsk and its aircraft industry with it. It's time for us to do what the Reds have failed to do. We shall reopen these factories and let the workers from all over the Far East into them. Soon the anti-Bolshevik front will not only battle its enemies on the ground, but in the sky as well, against the other powers of Siberia. This might prove to be the decisive edge that will let us triumph over them. When we look towards the west, these planes will serve us well in crushing any opposition to our rule. There we go. Petlin studied the map before him. A dull, unadorned picture, save for roughly drawn borders between states that compete for dominance in the Russian Far East. For now, there were only two significant contenders, with the communists marked in red and new, rejuvenated Russian Fascist Party in blotches of black and brown. He laid his fingers on a line that demarked the boundaries between the two mortal enemies. In the dark cold of his office, he could feel the heat rise to his touch, as decades of hatred and enmity burned in the front lines. A thud. Petlin didn't mind it. It was probably aides stumbling their way through the dark. He looked outside the window of his little room. The night was bright, with momentary gaps of darkness, as the clouds conspired to keep the light of a full moon for themselves. In the coming days, he did not know when, maybe in a week or a month, would be the day of another confrontation. If only there were another way. A knock on the door woke him up from his reverie. "Coffee, sir?" an aide said, bringing a tray full of a hot black liquid, steam rising from the cups. "I thought you'd want some, as I made some for my men." "Put it on my desk." At least it wasn't the vase, come to shake one's work. "Mind the map." An aide gingerly placed Petlin's cup on the northern edge of the map, its fragrant fume spreading its way across the room. As he lifted the tray, however, he knocked it over, spilling the coffee. The aide hurriedly drew his handkerchief, but Petlin stopped him. The damage was already done. No amount of wiping would ever clean the map. The aide withdrew from the room, profusely apologizing all the while. As Petlin examined the stain, however, he remembered the rumors from the north, of a heretic amassing his forces to free the Siberians from tyranny of fascism and communism. While the blot expanded and absorbed more and more of the paper, Petlin found his mind wandering. Perhaps this was an omen. A sign from the Lord, perhaps. Battle of Barcelona. What do we want to work on? Probably research labs, I'm thinking. Yeah, let's do research facilities. Yeah, it feels bad, man. Well, it's Samara versus the front. Place your bets, guys. Let's deal with the grim reality. Makovsky has defeated Sablin. The victor of the ideological struggle in the Far East has been decided. The radio waves from Brigati are now silent, with only its rival Magadan broadcasting with the success of the Voz. The ideas of Sablin, worthy as they were, did not stand up to scrutiny. Now his loyal followers scattered the Siberian forests and hills, perhaps never to return. He now dwells in a jail cell in Magadan, along with those either too faithful or too slow to escape his fate. The party shall put his ideas to rest. The doctrines of the past shall not plague the people of Russia ever again. The question remains as to what to do with Sablin and his retainers. The Voz shall deal with Sablin personally, believing him worthy respect. He shall exile Sablin to the wilds of Siberia, blindfolded. He shall give him 2 bullets and a piece of bread to take with him. If Sablin desires to live, he must earn his right. Oh, man. Hide that from Reddit, guys. We don't want them finding out that their boy is about to be sent into the fucking forest. Let's get another 1,000 manpower. Democracy returns to Italia. Mamma mia. We've dealt with grim reality. The trucks ran into the Siberian countryside, carrying on its back 5 men, 4 in garb as soldiers, and equipped as such, and the 5th a blindfolded man, his clothes being threadbare rags on the edge of tearing apart. It was early morning, and the roadside snow lay in thick clumps, a fair bit of distance away from the woods to which the vehicle was heading. Occasionally, they would come up on a bump on the road, and the 4 had to lift the blindfolded men back to his seat. To their relief, the latter was silent. The voice that had proclaimed liberation for the workers of Russia from atop the radio waves had held back, its will broken. He could do nothing now, its eyes shut, his hands tied behind his back. His followers lay dead in the fields, and whatever remained of his legacy would thaw like snow come the next spring. When they arrived at a clearing, a random spot in the middle of Russia designated as the execution point. Opening the cargo bay, they took the blind man and brought him out by the elbow, setting him down as gently as they can, to a patch of snow-covered soil. Then he made him stand and walk him forward to somewhere he did not know. An atheist all his life, he confessed that he regretted nothing. The calm stillness of a dawn greeted the eerie silence of his heart. He did not need the opiate of the masses. His pain was his own. They took the blindfold off him, and the sunlight shocked him. How many days had it been? How many months, years? How much time? They stopped, and he knelt. His eyes remained fixated on the sky above. They read out a sentence. Rifles clacked, and all ends pointed to his head. By the order of the Vols of the Russians, I sentence you, Valery Mikhailovich Petlin. He was ready. To exile! He pointed his head down and looked around him, lost. The guards gave him a revolver, 2 bullets, a coat, and some black bread. After that, they departed. He wanted to laugh, and he giggled. Soon, however, all was silent except for a lonely, deprived sobbing. Excuse me. What a cruel mercy. Well, let's get the State Intelligence Agency up. After the defeat of the Soviet remnants, the Vols has taken an interest in a specific state apparatus of government. The Nkvd, the mastermind behind the many crimes of the Union against Russia, was a competent organization capable of maintaining the security of the state. Makovsky plans to use them as an inspiration for his own intelligence service, but also as a lesson. The crimes against the freedom and liberty of the Russian people shall no longer be tolerated. The vision is the impetus for the State Intelligence Agency, a body consisting of spies, commissars, and secret police, whose task is to investigate dissent and monitor the enemy. The parties shall merge with our separate investigative agencies into the SIA. We will infiltrate our enemies in the west and north. They will be unable to move an inch without knowing. The eyes of Makovsky shall not overlook his own realm either. There will be no more dissent, and never another Radzevsky. Makes sense to me, man. Let's get some industry. Get a boost to that. And I'm tempted to click this button right now. I think we'll hold off for a little bit. Just a little bit. It looks like Omsk is going to win. There we go. We got our new security agency. We got some first reports. Oleg leaned on a tree, using his pencil to scribble out notes for the report to the Vol's new State Intelligence Agency. As a member of the Siberian Rangers, it was perhaps unsurprising that he was handpicked for position in this SIA. He had to be careful not to press the paper too harshly against the tree bark, or he would tear the fragile and thin piece of gray paper apart. The notes themselves were simple, what he'd seen that day, weather, geographical conditions, as well as the dispositions of nearby locals. The last part troubled Oleg more than any other. He did not like talking to people. He'd sooner crawl into the trenches of the enemy, evading mines and barbed wire, with machine guns raining fire upon him, than talk to a bumpkin who couldn't even get their dialect right. Still, through the rugged surface, he managed to write a tiny bit of what he'd seen and heard of locals. The data was probably insignificant, but he didn't care. He had done what was asked of him and done it brilliantly. He even talked to one or two of the less obnoxious farmers out there in the wilds. Finishing his writing, he shoved the paper into his pocket and sat down. It was time for a moment of rest. He took out a roughly rolled cigarette and lit it. In the hands of the SIA, individual data was useless. Collectively, however, they might be the force that decided the battle. He dragged the cigarette out, letting the smoke cloud and clear his mind. After this, Oleg would go into the offices of the SIA and type up his report, drawing up conclusions and recommending courses of action for the higher-ups. He would rather be in the Siberian Rangers still, but maybe this life was good enough. Thus ran the cogs of Vol's new eyes and ears. Let's get Night Vision 2. Let's start with the sins of a father. The peasants are pleased. The church and its clergy are now under our protection, while they have thrown their weight behind us, legitimizing the Vald's mission. In cases where the peasants attempt to wage guerrilla warfare in the Siberian wilds, we are ready to respond with our own twist for doctrine. Little do the peasants know, however, that their beloved father, formerly of their parish, is still alive. The Vols must decide what to do with him. Letting him loose into Siberia may once again result in the peasants rising and rebelling against our stranglehold in the Far East. For this predicament we shall excommunicate him and damn his mercy forever. There was never a father. It was a disorganized rebellion who rose against Makovsky's rightful rule over the Far East. Those who know the truth shall exist, but none shall ever hear the father's teachings ever again. It's time to subsume the truth for our own purposes. Could scavenge for more loot, but we're not going to be in this stage for a while, so that's just going to be 1 loot, 15 political power that we're just going to waste. They're doing the Revolutionary King. It was almost evening when Zakhar finished. He sat in a scriptorium, a candle by his side, prepared for the inevitable night. The sun hadn't set yet, but was his best to be ready when it did. His pen scribbled on the creamy, expensive paper the Vols brought for him. A generosity that matched the grandiose scale of his commission, the history of Christianity in the Far East. With each stroke, he struck the thought and the memory of how he came under Mikhail Makovsky's service, a story that he, and perhaps only he and God, knew. He gritted his teeth, vowing to carry the tale to his grave. Each man bore a different cross, and this was his. Not to die in honor, but to live in shame. His pen halted upon reaching the 50s and 60s. Here he sighed. For the sake of posterity, perhaps the future would do better not knowing the crimes done to reach a better age. Aside from the general chaos in Russia, he found himself stumped. Other than the obvious and apparent, there was no notable events that had happened in the Far East. He would have to consult his archives, documents, and books. Perhaps there he would be able to forge a narrative convincing enough, real enough, that there would be none who would question it. He opened the first book, a baptismal record he had set on the table, and began reading, leafing through its pages to find and secure the desired truth. Within the first few pages, the black bars began to appear. A certain father, whose name was blotted out by thick, messy ink, had baptized hundreds in the village. The name Blood struck out of living memory. Zakhar recognized his handiwork. He had to do it in a hurry. It had been a hard choice, but he could not let the integral history of the monastery disappear. Zakhar remembered the father, a man who undertook the difficult mission of proselytizing to the tribes in the north. Nobody thought that he would return, yet he did, bringing not only peace, but the sword. Zakhar rode out with him to the south, and ate in his war council from the beginning to the end. He stepped outside, the weight of a warm and bright memories twisting in darkness. The laughter, the tears, seemed to burn in his ears, a ringing sound that wouldn't cease. And then he saw the graves, their silhouettes dark against the dying sun. Rows upon rows, for miles upon miles. He saw the crosses of his comrades, men and women, that they bore in life, and that they now carry on to death. Crosses of rough-hewn wood, unmarked and unnamed. He collapsed to his knees. Perhaps today he would fail to bear his. For a few pieces of silver more. Now it's time for the People's Vote. With the defeat of the Reds of both wings, we stand with the majority of the territories in the Far East. The ideas of Soviets now lie dead, extinguished by the flames of war. Yet the Vols recognizes those ideals, no matter how flawed they were, came from an equitable source. The Reds thought, though they were our enemies to the end, desired only good for Russia. That they lie dead, strewn over the fields of Siberia, does not impede their honor, and Makovsky will honor them. No longer shall his rule be from top to bottom, commanding everything without a grasp on the average Russian citizen's perspective. He shall become the people's voice, a leader who rules with the popular consent of his people. In keeping with the wishes of his enemies, Russia shall not know lack ever again. The Russian workers shall know that the paradise of the proletariat does not dwell in the world, but within their hearts, within their motherland. Get this guy in. Jam out to some water vapor. Can get an operative. Let's go with Dmitry Azarov. What can we do with you, pal? Counterintelligence, see how that works, honestly. Do counterintelligence. Get the Seblinski. Support. The soldiers of the army sat in their canteens, waiting for the steady pace of the staff to serve their food. It was nothing much, given the soil of Siberia, but what was there was enough. Some thick soup and black bread was their dinner that night. Usually they would wait in a line. Tonight was special. An officer brought a radio to the frontmost table, for tonight the Voz was on the airwaves, preparing to deliver an address to the people of the Far East. It was silent, save for the clatter of plates and the slosh of liquid soup as the servers lowered their ladles onto dishes. No one touched their food. A wave of patriotic music swept over the barracks. A voice, that of her dear Volst, Mikhail Makovsky, spoke, booming and echoing through the room. Good evening, the people of Russia. Tomorrow, past midnight, a new age begins. The Reds, long traitors for the virtues of Russian people, have been defeated. Their armies lay dead in the fields, their ideologues, their party, their presidium, their pretensions to legitimacy, all scattered to the four winds. A semblance of cheer broke out within the ranks, although everything stayed calm. The clattering and sloshing continued between the spaces of Makovsky's words. My loyal soldiers, militant and martial, the armed wing of the Russian fascist party, the true heroes of the proletariat, have broken through the darkness that had caged and jailed Russia for so long. They shall be the vanguard of a new revolution, a revolution not brought about by the necessities of inhumane ideologies, but for the renewal, a rejuvenation, for a powerful Russia to take her place once again among nations. The patter of hands, fingers, and palms joined together, a storm that drowned all the other noises. A cry here, a cry there, acting as a thunderous rods that broke the atmosphere. The night was complete. A lively evening, to be sure. People more down with fascism after that, and we got two things we gotta do left. Got the Charter of Magadan. And it's time to make this unification thing official. So, the RFP's Grand Crusade has hit a significant milestone. The Far East is now in the Vol's hands. Rozevsky is dead, and the Tsar is pacified. The Reds are gone, you gotta go to shot and killed, Sablin in exile. No one remembers the father and his teachings, and those who do fight a pointless and guerrilla war in the far reaches of the Russian Far East. No one stands to challenge the might of the RFP and its Volst. However, there is still something to do. To reassure the people of Siberia and the West of our intentions, as well as to curry favor with the Americans, our Vols has come up with a grand, almost liberal-seeming notion, the Charter of Magadan. We will outline and implement the rights we promised years ago in the Siberian Bill of Rights. All people of Russia can rest easy, knowing that the RFP shields and guarantees their rights. This is only a taste of what's to come for the rest of Russia. And with that, word has traveled down from the quiet tundras of the Russian Far East. A frontier long abandoned by any national authority for decades, a new contender for power now arrives there, perhaps against all odds. Mikhail Makovsky, the leader of the rebellious branch of the Russian Fascist Party based in the port city of Magadan, has established himself as a premier authority in the Far Eastern region. Pragmatic fascists of some repute, Makovsky and his allies first split from the original party, and more due to Rozevsky's excesses and support for the Nazis during the Great Patriotic War. Now, the rest of the world waits with bated breath to see how much further this old Russian fascist can go. The winds of fate blew Russia to the Reds once upon a time, and now that tide may reverse its course. A strange development. Let's do that. Got our economy. Let's see if we're building anything right now. We're still building some stuff. Some stuff. Not much, but we're building, I guess. Let's improve worker training. Army professionalism, that works. That's a good way to start off. Hungary sides with Germany. Not a surprise there, really. Christian Democrats have won. Got the Republic of Madagascar here. Zimbabwe broke free from the Reichsstaat. Same with Uganda. We have one more little event, so we might as well stop. Do this before we stop. Petlin watched as Makovsky and the rest of his cabinet took their seats at the round table on the highest floor of the RFP building. He followed them, sitting right beside Makovsky, a mere ambassador, lifted to the position of the right-hand man. He was a lifeline between the Americans and the party, after all. A chandelier set the room alight, an unfamiliar sight to Petlin's eyes. The cabinet usually met during the day, not at night. Once they were all seated, Makovsky turned to him, mouthing, "That all of them?" He gave a valse nod, who then stood up and coughed, silencing the whispering that commenced among the ministers. "Gentlemen, I come to you today with a bold proposal. As per the recommendations from our dear friend Mikhail Petlin," he pointed at Petlin as if his point needed clarification, "who has proposed a radical change, a shift that would perhaps transform the very nature of the party." Arriving at the other end of the table, he stopped before continuing. "I understand that many of us here, including me, Petlin, Pavlov, and many others, have served the cause of Russia ever since the creation of the party in Harbin. However, the times have changed. The party needs, forgive me for the trite expression, to move on with the times." Returning to his former seat, he said, "I propose to do away with the affectations of the past, to escape the shadow of Rodzewski." He raised his head and looked at every man in the seat in their eyes. Every man seated in their eyes. "We shall sign the Charter of Magadan. Petlin, our dear friend, has kindly written us a new constitution for us." He let go before clasping his hands together. "I'm sure that all of you have read it. Now, I propose that from today henceforth, the Russian Fascist Party is no more. It is now the National Labor Party of Russia." He paused, gauging every man for their worth. "All in favor say aye." There was no dissent. Aye. And I think with that, that's a pretty good place to leave it, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to cut it here. Thank you as always for watching. If you like this video, leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you want to see more of this content in the future, hit the sub button from uploads every weekday, as well as occasionally Saturdays. If you have any comments, feedback, concerns, leave them in the comment section below. I read all the comments again. Appreciate any all feedback you might have for me. If you want to chat, play games, anything sort, check out my Discord now, link below. If you want to send a few bucks away every month, I have a Patreon. Why did I blank on that? Patreon. And then if you want to, I don't know, see me do a source of live, I have a Twitch, all of which are down in the description box below. That's really it for now, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you as always for watching. My name has been DB333, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.